ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the co-host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and welcome to the last re-entry Monday of 2025 with myself and Scott Webb, live from Tampa. I'm live from Cape Cod. A little dreary out there. Got some rain last night, so it'll warm up pretty nice today. So hope everyone had a great weekend. I love our re-entry Mondays. It allows us to go back over the weekend, what we saw, how we did on the numbers and everything, and get us prepared for a Monday night game. Rams in Atlanta right now. The Rams -7.5 at the Circle with the 49. And we have a bowl game, Georgia Southern Appalachian State at 2 o'clock. Currently Georgia Southern 9.5 with the 59.5. Probably one of, if not the game of the year last night. 49ers was a 42-38 final. Caleb came all the way down, and the Bears, fourth down for the game. I don't know what was more impressive. I really don't. You start the game with a pick six down 7-0 and don't blink. I guess I'm really impressed in what Ben Johnson and the Bears have done, and I don't think they've gotten enough credit. I've been not pumping them up, but saying, hey guys, you want to applaud the Patriots. Well, the Bears have almost mirrored you till yesterday. So anyways, first and foremost, a shout out to our proud sponsors and partnerships. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play, download the app. It is free. Travis, Zach, Guy, myself, Ian Berhawley, Carol, Bucks, Alan, Matthew, Jacob, Drew, the list is endless. Come on board. 2026 will be epic, I promise you. And of course, AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. Terry Smith on Facebook, go follow him. Terry, I absolutely crushed dinner on Christmas thanks to you. I had 2 big primes. I had 2 filet mignons. We put the grill up. I had baked Norwegian salmon, baked scallop. The list is endless. Thank you, Terry. Go over to AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. Tell them JD from ECSI sent you. Without further ado, let's bring her in. Scotty Webb. What's up, Scott?
Hey, man. It is Monday. I'm not sure where we're going to go today. I know we have, re-entry Monday, and we're going to talk about the weekend. However, we got college playoff games starting Wednesday. So I've got all that stuff ready to break down. But I would also say that I did make bets on tonight, both games today. I did make bets on them. So we can talk about that too. But in terms of what I saw on over the weekend, in terms of the NFL, right, I think you got to start back to what you saw on Saturday with Baltimore. They just handed the ball off to Henry, and like he ran the ball 35 times or something like that for over 200 yards. And then at the same time as that, I thought Green Bay's Malik Willis. I mean, he played his probably the best game he's ever played. So
he's gonna get paid next year.
So I was like, where's this game gonna go? But Green Bay couldn't keep up, even though it was in Green Bay. And then that set up the Browns game with Pittsburgh, and I'm like, well, it doesn't really matter. Pittsburgh's going to beat the Browns, and they didn't beat the Browns. So now you got Pittsburgh that has to go play Baltimore, and Baltimore's the favorite. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, Pittsburgh, what are you doing? Like stupid Pittsburgh, whatever. Like if you're not good enough, you're not good enough. And then I, to be quite honest, I don't think I would if I'm a Baltimore person, which I'm a matchups line guy, so I don't really care. But I sit there and I go, I don't think I want Lamar to play. I think I want the other guy to play. They're so much better right now with Snoop than they are with Lamar. So let me have him. And then watching this game last night, right? Well, I shouldn't go there yet. We have Tampa Bay's got to win, right? Well, they didn't win in Miami. The quarterback, of all the praise that they gave him at the beginning of the year, Baker Mayfield's going to be, part of the MVP, and all that stuff. And he is just throwing the ball all over the place and making mistake after mistake after mistake and turnover after turnover. And you can't win games like that. And then you got this head coach who's supposed to be a defensive wizard, can't stop, a rookie quarterback in his second start. So I thought that was kind of a bad game. And now I'm just kind of perusing through here. What about the Eagles and the Bills game? I knew it was bad weather. I bet that game under. And that comes down to the 2-point play at the end of the game to see if they win. The guy's wide open and Josh Allen scrambling around back there and throws an air ball, so they lose. But that was an amazing game. And then I was just kind of looking at some of these games, and like, what did the Patriots do? They just showed up and kicked the shit out of the Jets. I mean, what the hell's going on with the Jets? Not that it's most people can't beat the Jets, but I mean, like, that Drake May was awesome. 5 touchdown passes, I think, from him. And then there was a little bit of fight in Indianapolis. They played Jacksonville, pretty tough. And then last night's game was not granted. These teams play great offense. They went up and down and up and down and up and down. I mean, like, just up and down the field. I think San Francisco might have had 1 or 2 stops the entire game. And the Bears, they had a pick 6. That counts as a stop probably. And that was about, and they had 1 other stop in the game. 42-38 game, and the game comes down to the final play, and the guy's running around there like a chicken with his head cut off, and he throws the ball, and they just didn't get it in. But I'm not sure, Jeff, that wins in the playoffs. I mean, you can tell me that hey, that's great offense, but I'm going to tell you, if you go play the Eagles right now, and the Eagles, the way their defense is playing, the Eagles, they're going to shut that shit down.
Hold on. I love the fire. I love the passion. I love what you had to all say, okay? The Eagles yesterday played to the elements. Do you know how many passing yards Jalen Hurts had in the second half? Again? Not the first time this year.
No. In the second half.
No. And it's not the first time. Twice this year now he had 0 passing yards, okay? The inept will play a half. The mark my word, timestamp this, 9:44 a.m. on December 29th. The Eagles won't be in the Super Bowl And I'm going to take it a step further. They won't even be in the NFC Championship game. How's that? And I love their defense. They're just playing with their food. They're going through the motions. And listen, I applaud the 2-point conversion. Listen, you don't want to get Josh Allen hurt, who's already hurt. The guy was open. It was a great call. He just, as you said, threw an air ball. So, but the Eagles in there, we're up 13-0. We'll coast again. That's the second time this year that they've done that. They play 30 minutes and then their defense wins the games. But getting back to the Sunday night game, we criticize, not you, but I'm just saying, we criticize snooze fests. These guys went a mano a mano. Brock Purdy, that's the reason they paid him. Okay, the guy is legit. He is an NFL quarterback. And what that really did to solidify is Mac Jones going to get paid next year. Hey, Mac, thank you to get us to this point, because we're able to hold on to Purdy for a couple more weeks on the sideline till he really got healthy. Thank you. Okay, and listen, all the bullshit, all the crying. Listen, Ben Johnson culture, the running game, Swift, Monagai. Yeah, Caleb is not completing 68, 70% of his passes, but he's not making mistakes. He's putting you in position to win. And again, you were right. I don't like rolling to the right or rolling to the left because you're cutting half the field off. But again, that's where Caleb is most comfortable. Came down to the last play. And if he could have got a little more on it, I think the kid would have got the touchdown there. But in general, for the NFL, they got what they want. I'll give everyone the look-aheads right now. Give me 1 second. And I'm being sarcastic here, Scotty. The minor league 4:30 game, Carolina at Tampa. Tampa -3 and a 43.5. They've won one game since October. If you mailed me 100 to bet on Tampa, money line next Saturday, I'd mail you back 200. I wouldn't touch, and even if they win, they're gone in the first game. Seattle, San Francisco, holy cow. San Fran -1. It opened one with a 49.5. I'm seeing a 50 with the one. I thought that'd be high. A lot of respect to Seattle and Darnold there. Those games are both on Saturday, and then let me see if it's moved. The late game, of course, everyone's been talking about for 6 weeks. Baltimore at Pittsburgh. Baltimore 3.5 with a 41. Scott.
Yeah, I think it's hard to sit there and go, hey, Tampa Bay, you're the better team, and they are in terms of talent and players and all that stuff. There's an issue. Baker Mayfield is the issue. That all being said, they got brand new play, a brand new play caller this season, and maybe he's like panicking and not doing a good job and different things. There's a lot going on in Tampa Bay in terms of what's wrong with that team. Now, that all being said, does Carolina have the firepower to take advantage? Well, shit, what kind of firepower does Miami have? And they won that game, although Miami's playing a little better than they have been, and they've been playing a little bit better defense. Now, having said that, I really got to look into what's going on with the Seahawks in the 49ers game, because you saw what San Francisco is, and San Francisco is all offense. And Seattle, the way I look at Seattle, and maybe not the way everybody does, but the way I look at Seattle is they're all defense. I mean, they play really good defense. And the fact of the matter is, what does that matchup look like? And how does it portray out? If it's a home game for San Francisco, just thinking it out loud, not even looking at anything and stuff, I'm way more inclined to say I would rather bet Brock Purdy than I would rather bet the crazy ass Darnold in a big game. Now, that all said, San Francisco's defense is you can do anything you want. You can run the ball, you can throw the ball, you can do whatever. They can't rush the passer, all that. So maybe that allows the Seattle offense to keep up. And how many points can San Francisco go with? And they lost their left tackle last night. So if their left tackle doesn't play in this game, Williams, if he doesn't play, that's a big loss for them. So that in terms of health and that kind of stuff, I think is important. However, I will say they will be extremely, extremely motivated to win that game. And the reason I say that is they win that game, and just like you talked about and they were talking about on TV last night all the time, they got a home game throughout the playoffs all the way into the Super Bowl, because that's where the Super Bowl's at. So that is a advantage that is beyond the other teams by far. So I think that gives them a superior motivational edge that of all the teams. Now, having said some of these things, we talked about the Eagles and how goofy they are and what kind of team they are. Look, when they get into the playoffs, they have some favorable situations. They're going to win their division, so they're going to have a home game. And the way it sets up right now, the Rams have to go there. Well, we've seen that a couple times, and the Rams can't beat them there. Haven't beat them yet there. And, if it's cold and it's all that stuff, I think that takes one of those great teams out if it happens that way. So there's also other playoff implications that kind of come around and different things based on who wins and loses these games coming up. But where it's possible that the Rams wouldn't play them, they would play somebody else. So we'll see how all that turns out, because I think that's going to be vitally important to how we handicap who's coming out of these divisions, is who's playing where and who's playing who, because some of these teams are getting hot and some of them are kind of just hanging on. You don't want to. Like you said, no matter who whether wins, Carolina or Tampa Bay, neither one of those teams are going to go any very far. But they're going to play at home. But they're going to play one of these wild card teams that are really good. Like maybe Seattle comes in here and beats the crap out of Tampa Bay or something like that. I'm just making it up. But the point being is I think as we kind of look at where these things fold out, those playoff home games are going to be significant advantages coming up here in the NFL, and we need to really factor in some of that when we look at this week's numbers. One of the lines that really surprised me. Is look at Minnesota Green Bay's number. Minnesota's not very good, but they're almost a touchdown favorite in that game. I'm like, wait a minute, they're a touchdown favorite. So I gotta look at that and see what's going on. Now it's quite possible, that like these teams, Green Bay, and don't have anything to play for, stuff like that. But I don't understand it. I think it's something we got to look into and see what's going on with some of this stuff. These games are double-digit spreads in some of these spots where one of the teams, who cares? Who really cares? Like it doesn't matter on some of these games whether one team wins or one team loses, and some of them are playing for draft position, and I don't know. So some of these games are kind of out there. The rest of them kind of matter. There's some of them that really matter. Some of them matter a lot. But I think looking at the playoffs and trying to figure out and what the home field edge is going to be, and then who the matchups are going to be, I think that's important as to what you try to figure out what you want to do. Now, like tonight's game, for example, I don't know how many people really realize this, but if the Atlanta Falcons were to go in and win this game, they have a chance to make the playoffs. And we've been like sitting there going, no. Well, if they win tonight, they have a chance. So Now I didn't bet it that way, but the point being is that there's a possibility of those things. So it's kind of weird how all of this stuff plays out for all these games. But I think, once I started digging into this, the Rams really want to win this game, and the Rams really want to win their next game, because the Rams really want to move up one spot so they don't have to go play the Eagles. Now, why would you want to go play the Eagles in Philadelphia? That's not really what you want to do. You'd rather come down here and play, Tampa Bay or something. So as it kind of plays out, I think there's a lot of motivation, even in tonight's game. So we'll see what that kind of looks like.
Yeah, my landscape overview in the NFL, very simply, stay in the NFC. We talked for weeks about potentially Seattle and the Rams 1-2. Who's hosting? Now in comes the Chargers and 49ers. I'm going to say this out loud, and just my take on the matter is I think the rest of the NFC, I think, is rooting for the 49ers, Scott, to win next week. And because warmer weather, yes, they have a home field advantage. It's not like the Rams. But I think for most teams, if they had to travel in a championship game, they'd rather travel to San Francisco than Seattle, if Seattle is still standing, with the weather, with the defense, with the winds that usually come in Seattle late January. So that's my hot take there. Again, I think it's going to, and this is just my 2 cents, I think I put the Rams a slight notch ahead of Seattle, and then I put the 49ers ahead at third, ahead of the Eagles. It just, again, the inconsistency. I know they're the Super Bowl champs. I know they have a great defense. I do know that they won't be hosting the whole playoffs unless one of the two teams, in front of them get picked off. The Rams have the formula to beat the Eagles. I'm not even saying last year's blowout in the playoffs, but they come back. They know how to beat them. They would need a flawless game, of course, from Stafford. Devontae Adams, is he healthy at it? But the inconsistencies of their play 30 minutes, take 30 minutes off, hope the defense carries us. I'm not buying it, and I could get egg on my face. I know a lot of people that have jumped in at the 9-1 price that they got to win the Super Bowl. That's an amazing price. You can get them, a decent price to win the NFC. I think the NFC, again, Rams, Seattle, right there, 49ers a notch behind. And I think that the 49ers will be less than 3 against a Seattle or a Rams team in that NFC championship. In the AFC, again, Denver 1, Patriots 2. You talked about the Pats and Drake May, and just hats off. A great season. One more left. They're 10-point favorites against Miami. Denver. Here was the one hope that the Chargers were going to come in and pick off Denver so the Pats potentially could get the 1 seed. Well, Vegas is saying not so fast because Denver opened at 3, has gone to 7.5. Now, I assume that means potentially maybe no Herbert. There's no need for them to play that game, but it looks like Denver 1, Pats 2. There is a scenario and a setup where Buffalo, and Josh Allen's foot is not good, but there is a scenario Buffalo will travel to New England for the first game of the playoffs there. So a lot there, but my point to you, Scotty, and I'll let you close the NFL with this, the 2 hottest teams in the AFC, not named Denver or the Pats. And I think Denver is flawed, like I think you think. I think the Patriots are a great story. I think they have holes. Everyone in the AFC does. But I think, again, you got to put some respect on the Jaguars, number 1, and what Trevor Lawrence has done of late. And number 2, I keep saying this, I don't want to play him. I'm sorry, I don't. The Houston Texans.
Yeah, I just ran through, that exercise we've been doing through the NFL machine thing there that predicts the game. So you go through and I picked the Rams for tonight, and then in these games for week 18, Okay, I picked the home team I picked the Buccaneers, and I get it. They may lose, but whatever. I picked them, and then I picked San Francisco to beat Seattle because it's a home game. So I picked that. I picked Houston. I picked Dallas. I picked Bengals. I picked the Ravens to beat the Steelers. I picked Buffalo. I picked the Bears to win. Nothing crazy. That all said, if you do that, the playoff bracket looks like this. San Francisco gets the number 1 seed because they beat Seattle this coming weekend. And then you have Green Bay goes and plays at Chicago in the playoffs. The Seahawks go and play the Eagles then. And then you have the Rams go and play Tampa Bay. Ultimately, that's what the Rams want. The Rams would want, and in my mind, I think the Rams are the best team. So I sit here and I go, I would want that. I would want to bet that. I would want to bet the Rams. But the point being is the Rams then would go play them. And then in the AFC, you got the Broncos number 1 seed, and then the Chargers go play New England. That's good for New England. And then you have Buffalo goes and plays Jacksonville. I'm not so sure that's good for Jacksonville. And then you have Houston goes and plays Baltimore. I'm good with Houston in those games. So, it's interesting how some of that works out. But in the NFC, you really, really, really want the home games. And the Rams in terms of matchups, I think if they could get this to play out the way I just did it, that would be perfect for the Rams. And that means the Rams win tonight and they win next week. And the Rams play the Cardinals. And I think that would work out good for them. The difference would be then is that San Francisco needs to win against Seattle. And then that changes all that stuff around. And then Green Bay, what's Green Bay? The only thing I did here was Green Bay plays at Minnesota, and I looked at the spread, right? The spread is a touchdown almost for Minnesota. So I'm like, what the hell is going on in that game? So I'm like, all right, well, we'll just say Minnesota wins. So if Minnesota beats Green Bay, then that's kind of how it works out. Green Bay's got to go play Chicago. I don't think Green Bay's going to be afraid of Chicago. They already played them twice. But they're going to have to play a really good game, and they're going to need, Love to be healthy. And that line kind of tells me that Love might not play in that game against the Bears, or against who they play this week, against Minnesota. So I think that kind of sets that up. But so they might not be afraid to go play them there. Just because it's a divisional game. And if all that kind of works out that way, who gets screwed is Seattle, because Seattle played such a great game, such a great season. Theoretically they lose this game coming up to San Francisco, and then become the 5th seed and got to go play Philadelphia in Philadelphia. That's they're playing for the number 1 seed, and then all of a sudden have to go play at Philadelphia. That's I mean, I get it. That's how it all works out. But at the same time as that, that they get screwed the most. I mean, I don't know how else other than to say it. That would be, that would be bad. But whatever. I mean, San Francisco's got it set up for them to be right there. However picture perfect it could be, all the way through the Super Bowl, and people got to go out there to beat them. And they don't have the greatest home field edge, but at the same time, they don't got to go play in the cold, which is kind of the whole thing. They don't have to go play on the East Coast. So be interesting to see how it all works out and how things kind of fill out and kind of go. But it's one day at a time, one game at a time. And we got a lot of football before we get there. And, as far as I'm concerned, as some of these games come around and some stuff happens, those are going to be, there's going to be a pretty good weekend for football. And as not necessarily today, but as the games kind of progress, they're going to get better, and we're going to see some pretty good stuff coming up.
As for our sheet, it's kind of comical. You know, we talked about
Oh, we're not good.
We talk about closing line value. We talk about these numbers have been up for a long, long time. Our pool is done by Jeff Sargent, USA Today. The numbers are, you find value, you find edges, you use AI, yada yada yada. You start 4-1, and the funny is, I'm just going over it. Pitt was a no-show against East Carolina. Clemson was a no-show against Penn State. Army boxed the wire against UConn. The comedy here, BYU.
I was marking it as a winner. Then I looked at the line like, shit, we lost.
Well, the closing line was 3.5. We had 4.5 there. And I want to tell you something. We had the over in that game. And we had the BYU team total over 29. Something happened in that game that is physically impossible to happen. And that is, there were 5 possessions, 4 inside the 10, first and goal, and 1 inside the 20. And they got 3 points combined. 5 possessions, 4 first and goal inside the 10, and 1 inside the 20, and they got 3 points. And so I'm talking out loud to the ETSI VIPs there. And then, of course, the back door is so wide open. North Texas dominated San Diego State, and as you know, they come down and get a touchdown late.
On the last play of the game.
Last play of the game there. And then for us here, I gave out Houston money line. I liked Houston. We had Houston. And on the paper, again, 3.5. And it lands on 3 there. And so the funny is, the guy that plays all the favorites, we got our first underdog in. That was Virginia against Missouri. So we need Iowa to come in and knock him out. And that doesn't matter, so we'll knock him out. But anyways, the bowl games, 1 tonight, and the NFL. Stage is yours. You want to talk about some sides and leans that you have on both those games?
Yeah, let's do them in time order, right? So time order will be 2:00 today. You have a bowl game. The bowl game is where's my stuff at over here? There we go. The bowl game today is the Birmingham Bowl. You have Georgia Southern against Appalachian State. Now, this game opened as Appalachian or Georgia Southern -2.5, 59. It went up and now it's up to 8.5. So let's talk first of all. The number is 8.5. Well, on the betting current number, numbers like when I ran it through the AI, the number was -7.5. So it went from 2.5 to 7.5, moved through the 7. The 7's the key number here. Well, I already went through 3, then it went through 7, and it's at 7.5. Now the number is 8.5. So when you sit there and you go, well, it's 8.5, I'm following steam here. Well, you're not really following steam. You're following information. The information on this game, and if I can get to where I'm at here, let me go to over here, bump, and close that out so I can get to what I want. All right, so here's the information that you got to know in this game. So first of all, Georgia Southern is a running football team. They like to run the ball. And Appalachian State, they haven't been very good most of the season. And in this game, this is a rematch. They played earlier in the year, and earlier in the year, Georgia Southern won the game 25-23. Close game. But in this case, the Appalachian State quarterback, AJ Swan, he was the quarterback at the beginning. He lost his job to a guy named JJ Cole. Well, the guy AJ Swan, he's transfer portal. He's out. He's the guy that was there. He's gone. And then the guy who took over for him, JJ Cole, well, guess what? He opted out too. He's gone. So both starting quarterbacks, they're not playing. And then their starting safety, the starting wide receiver, the starting quarterback, the starting defensive tackle, their starting linebacker, an edge rusher, an offensive tackle, a defensive tackle, all not playing. They're all not playing. Appalachian State has lost almost, 50% of the guys that played for them. They're not going to play. So it's going to be one of these scenarios where Georgia Southern's going to be relatively happy. They're not happy, healthy. They're going to have their players, and Appalachian State's a nightmare. So when you go from 2.5 or 3.5, whatever the number was, to 7.5, it goes through the key number 7, and now it's up to 8.5. The next key number, guys, is 10. So 8.5 is a dead number. You're not chasing the steam here, and you don't have to worry as much about the number being above 7. So the AI, I reran it again this morning, and it's like 35-14 kind of game where you're looking at, Appalachian State having a real struggle to stay up in this game. Now, having said all of those things I just said, what I would tell you to do, and what I did is I just bet a regular unit on the game. I didn't bet it higher. I didn't bet it lower. I don't like to bet these games. I don't like to bet these small conference games very much because, to be truth be told, these guys are starters. They've played a long time, but how much variance in terms of the guy behind them is there? There's only a certain amount of quality of play in this division that you're going to get. So the guy who replaces them isn't going to be dramatically different than the guy that was there. So I don't think they're just going to be lack of experience and that kind of stuff. But I think that kind of matters, right? So I think Georgia Southern is the right side in this game. I didn't do anything with the total and all that stuff. It's a high total, right? 60 something. Isn't that what it is?
It's gone back and forth. Currently live right now, I got it at 58.5. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's going to be some points. I don't know really how many points that Appalachian State's going to come up with a true freshman quarterback going to play, and maybe he's good. I don't know. But I'm betting against the idea that he's going to come in there and be really good in a bowl game. So that's my opinion on that game. I bet the game. I don't know if you've got an opinion or disagree with what I said or anything, but there you go.
No, I was trying to find some key numbers in the team total for Georgia Southern side. I like a first half over 14.5. There could be some 16.5. I think they get to at least 17 or better there. So
now look at the number now. Look at the number now. It's 9.5.
What's that? Georgia Southern? Yeah, and it's actually 10. It's going to be knocking across the pond.
You need to get in on that number before it gets to 10.
Yeah,
I'm not going to tell you to bet it at 10. Get in on it before 10.
Get it at 9.5 there. So again, some first half team total overs for Georgia Southern. The full game total is kind of sneaky. I would have respected a 31.5, but they're giving you the juice play. Actually, there's a 34.5. The consensus is 30.5. So I'm going to say if you get your team total over the 31.5, shop around there. I like that as well.
My AI comes at 35-14.
Yeah. DraftKings has got a 34.5 at plus 105 to the over. There are some 30.5s. So again, I think your consensus will be 31.5. So I like the team total over 31.5. Full game, I like it first half over 14.5 or 16.5. What do you get it there on that one? So Rams Atlanta.
Yeah, this one I wasn't really thinking about playing, to be honest. And then obviously I run it through the numbers this morning, and I come back to this, and this was the interesting thing to me. Well, I guess it wasn't interesting. I guess I just didn't realize it. So I'm here's the Rams results in the last couple of games. And I'm just going to go with how many points they scored. The Rams scored 37. Now that's 37 against Seattle in Seattle. So Seattle's a good defense. So they scored 37. They scored 41 against Detroit. They scored 45. They scored 28. Then they scored 34. Then the other game they played against Seattle, they scored 21. And then they scored 42, 34, 35. So they're scoring 30 to 40 points. And they scored 40 or more points in I don't know, 3 of the last 5 games, 3 of the last 6 games. So they're going to score points. So I started thinking about it, and when the outcome came from what my AI gave me, I was like, wait a minute. Now let's look at this again. The AI goes 30 to 20 Rams, and then I started thinking, well, that might be relatively close to being right. 30 points is not too far-fetched from what they can score, and I think that's a conservative 30. The Falcons on defense are not very good. What the Falcons do is they are a number 2 rated team in terms of how much they blitz. They blitz at a number 2 rate. Well, Matthew Stafford is quarterback QBR rating over, I don't know, I think it's like 120 or something like that against the blitz. His EPA value against the blitz is like the second best, if not the best, in all of pro football. So I think what they do in terms of the Falcons is something that the Rams can counteract pretty well. Now, on the other side of the ball, what the Falcons do is give the ball to Bijan, and they just let him run the ball. And Kirk Cousins has been proficient back there. He's not been great. He's been proficient. Well, I like the idea that, you've got the Rams here who are a top-tier run-stopping defense. They stop the run. And that's going to mean Kirk Cousins has to beat the Rams. I don't see it. So I look at this and go, I don't know that the Falcons can actually get to 20. And if the Rams can get to 30, this becomes a bet. So I made the bet. Again, this is one of those games that, was 8, now it's 7. I like the 7. I don't think it's going to go to 6.5. If anything, it might go back up as far as I'm concerned. But I like the bet at 7. I took it at 7. I think the matchup is favorable for the Rams. And then when I started looking at what it means for the Rams to win this game, and then possibly with a little bit of help from San Francisco, what it means for them to not have to go play Philadelphia in game 1 in Philadelphia, I think that's what they want. I think they want to win this game, and I think they want to win it as best as they can. I think they're going to score lots of points, and I get it. The wide receiver is not going to play or whatever, Adams. But I think they can do so much to do it. Like you can run on Atlanta, you can throw on Atlanta. They're going to blitz, and as long as you block them, you're gonna. And who's the best guy is Nakua, right? And they can throw the backs and stuff coming out. Look, I just think they have so many different ways they can attack this Atlanta team. And Atlanta's a team that'll give up points. So I like the idea, and I just put a unit on this game, and I put a unit on that game. So hopefully I can get 2 units today. That would be good.
Closing thoughts, I'm going to throw you a soft lob. And again, we've talked at length about this. It's the holiday season, the new year. Hoping we're not talking February, and I'm talking, of course, MLB and free agency. The big boys, again, Kyle Tucker, the next big shoe to fall. will Marte get traded? If so, does Arizona come flying in for Bregman? And the more I did some research, the more I talked about to some colleagues and stuff about the Soto clause, the more it really intrigues me. Where you really could make Soto happy here is if the Mets get involved and get Marte. Their top four would then consist of Lindor, Soto, Marte, and Polanco. I mean, there you checked every box for Soto. Now go play baseball. But I still think when the dust settled, I don't agree with some of the some of the so-called experts where if the Sox don't get Bregman, they don't get Marte, they're just going to get pivot and get Bo Bichette. The only way they would get Bo Bichette is in a 3-year deal, and I don't think Bo's going to take anything less than a 4 or 5-year deal, Scotty.
Yeah, I didn't see it, but I look, every day I go and I check the tracker, and I guess I didn't realize that Baltimore re-signed or signed Zach Eflin.
Yeah,
that's not earth shattering, but it's good for them. They need they need more pitching. That also tends for me to believe that I don't know if they're in or out on these big guys. They need a big guy at the top. They still need a big guy at the top. They're counting on a bunch of number twos to carry them through, and but we'll see. But in terms of what you're talking about, I don't know who's going to go first. I think once the guy that goes first, and maybe it's Tucker, maybe Tucker's the one that's holding everybody back, from signing all these contracts. But when one of them goes, they're all going to go pretty quick. But remember, some of these guys don't sign till late. I mean, they just sign later and later and later sometimes as things go. But we're getting ready to be, January 1 here. Pitchers and catchers are they report, Valentine's Day basically. So think about it. That's 45 days. So we're talking pitchers and catchers, 50 days from now. So and then these guys got to come in and start playing for whatever they're going to do for the WBC. So I don't know if anybody reported or saw, but Bryce Harper is now the first baseman for WBC. So that's another big star going to play in that tournament. It's unbelievable how that stuff works. Anyway, in terms of who's going to fall and where they're going to go, I don't know. I agree with what you're saying. I think the Red Sox, I think the Mets, I think some of these teams are out there just waiting to do something. The Mets moved a lot of their guys to make a deal. It's how much is it going to cost them? What are they going to do? I wouldn't be surprised if Arizona doesn't do anything and just keeps Ketel Marte. But I do know that he was a clubhouse problem in Arizona last year. He was. And he's just a prima donna crybaby guy who actually cried on the field. I don't remember if you remember that, but somebody made fun of his mom or said some bad things, and he started crying on the field. And I'm not saying that that's what you should do or shouldn't do, but if you're going to make a trade and trade all your guys and go all in on this guy, check all your bases and what your clubhouse seems to be like or whatever, and I'm still waiting to see if like, the Cubs have money, they haven't done anything. The Yankees have money, they haven't done anything. Some of these teams are out there just sleeping, and I don't know that they're really sleeping. And, I think something might pop where, holy crap, I didn't see that coming. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, that's pretty good. So just imagine if the Yankees went out and they signed Kyle Tucker and plays left, bats left-handed in that stadium. And then they go, well, I don't care about Bellinger no more. You guys can, I want, they wouldn't care. So I think there's lots of different things in play, and we don't know yet. I will say that if you're not following what the Pittsburgh Pirates are doing, you're missing out because the Pittsburgh Pirates are at least, how do I say this the right way? Low ball spending as much money as they can. They're out there getting guys and they're changing the dynamics of their team. And of all the teams that, and we talked about this, or I've talked about this anyway, the National League Central is a winnable division for any of these teams. And Pittsburgh's got the pitching to do it. They just didn't have the offense. Well, go look at their offense now. They just signed that guy from Japan and some other stuff. I think the things that they're doing change the dynamics. I don't know if it moves the needle enough, but man, maybe they get some of these guys. What's that other guy's name that was the shortstop, went to play center field? Cruz O'Neal. That maybe they can get him motivated to play a full season and hit, and stuff like that. And they got Connor Griffin or whatever that guy's name is that comes up as like the number one prospect at shortstop. Maybe he comes out and hits. If they got guys that can play and hit, they're going to be just as good as any of the other teams in that division. So I'm very interested to see how things sort of shake out. And if there's any additional like big bat, maybe you get one big bat, one big proven RBI guy. And if they can do that, I don't know that doesn't put them right in the race. I don't know if they're quite there yet, but by God, they're doing a lot. And I sit there and I look at a team like Cincinnati, for example, and go, shit, you could be doing the same thing, if not more, and be better, like the Brewers are the Brewers, and the Cubs, they could go spend all the money in the world if they wanted to and put a team together that's more associated to with like what the Dodgers have or what, some of these big bankrolls have and be dominating that division forever. But they don't. And that's where it just puts teams like Pittsburgh and, the Reds and some of these teams in that spot where, hey, the only thing that I know that's not going to be competitive is the Cardinals because the Cardinals are selling everything they got to kind of go through a rebuild. So, they put that off for so long, now maybe they're going to get a chance to actually put it through and go from there. So that's interesting to me. And obviously baseball's, God, it's the greatest thing in the world. But getting back to one last thing, and I don't want to, unless you don't want to do, because it's getting late, we've run an hour. But these college football games, playoff games are coming, and you got to watch the numbers. My AI came back with one of the best bets, and it's one of the best bets that it came back with. It's the Ohio State Miami game under 42.5. It's not 42.5 anymore. It's 41.5. The key number is 42. And if you don't act on some of this stuff, I'm saying this, but I didn't break it down. I didn't share the information, and I didn't do all this stuff with everybody. I think, Jeff, one of these days, well, we don't have to do it today, but like tomorrow for sure, and absolutely, we're going to have to talk about these college playoff games because they're going to get, the numbers are going to change, and as the numbers change, we're going to miss out on some of this, and it's not the biggest thing in the world, but think about that game. Ohio State has potential where they can score a whole bunch of points. So if we're looking at it from a defensive slugfest kind of battle, every half point matters. And, if you can still get 42, you can still get 42.5. Great. I'm just saying profit X is at 41.5. So anyway, as we're looking at different things, and the other thing I'm going to talk about in these games is money line. And I'm going to talk about money line value and what that is and how brave are you and what you can do and what you can't do. Because if you have a way to go and say, this team is got an 80 some percent chance to win a game. What does that look like on a money line? And then what's the money line providing from the book to you? And where's your value at? Well, I'm going to sound like Steve Fezzik, I guess. But when you sit there and you go, the money line, for example, is like on Ohio State is minus 330, 320 at ProfitX. I know it's 350, 360 at other places. What it really should be is more like minus 500. They're going to win the game. Will they cover the spread? I don't know that. Theoretically, they're going to win the game, but how do you bet it? Well, where's the value? The value is in minus 330, minus 320. And then you sit there and go, well, shit, I only bet $25 a game. I'm not, minus $50 a game. I'm not going to do that because of this, that, or the other thing. Well, I get it. But in some cases, that's it. So we're going to get into some of that stuff as we go. So anyway, those were my final thoughts.
Tomorrow we'll be back 9:15, 9:30. There are 3 bowl games tomorrow. We got the Independence Bowl, Coastal Carolina, and Louisiana Tech. We got the Music City Bowl game, which should be a fun one in Nashville, Tennessee. Tennessee versus Illinois. And then the nightcap, the Alamo Bowl at the Alamo Dome, USC TCU. I think, Scotty, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to come back Wednesday, because Wednesday we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 bowl games, and of course the nightcap is the Miami Ohio State game, and then we can decide then on Wednesday if you want to talk about the 3 Thursday games, of course. Then and we can come back on Friday, but we'll figure that one out. How's that?
Yeah, well, however you want to do it. I just think that if you don't talk about these playoff games starting, now, we always teach, or I always preach anyway, try to get your best numbers and don't bet bad numbers. So as things go, these numbers are going to move, especially as we get closer and people start really betting bigger money. The numbers are going to move. So we'll see what it looks like.
Nick Hatcoat at the top of the hour. We're going to talk some college football with him there. And then myself and Scotty will be back tomorrow morning. Andrew McGinnis will be back as well. No Ron Marmolewski this week. And the rest of the week will be up in the air. Follow my timeline there, of course. So for myself, Jeff Dawson, EDC Sports Investor, one and only Scotty Webb at Webby20 MLB. Wish everyone a blessed day. Go get yourself a coffee and a bagel. I'll be back in 28 minutes, and stay tuned.